Thank you, Ben Brown, for that wonderful introduction. When I grow up, I want to be like you. According to statistics, the average male has a life span of 70 years. Since I celebrated my 78th birthday in July, I hope you don't mind that I rush through this presentation to make sure that I get to the end before the end gets to me. I was sitting with my son, Nati, at a lovely restaurant. Nati is 47 years old. He's an actor, producer, director, writer. He's married, 3 children, very, very busy, and I love to spend time with him. But he just never has time. So I made sure it would happen on his birthday in November. I invited him out for a dinner at a lovely, lovely restaurant. And here we were in the middle of the meal when his phone lit up. And he picked up the phone and he made an apologetic gesture and turned his back and began to talk on the phone. And there I was alone again. If this has happened to you, please raise your hand. Oh, I have some brothers and sisters out there, I see. Well, I thought that this would be a good time to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is, according to Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, the awareness of what I'm experiencing in the here and now, and what is going on in the environment in the here and now. And I sensed resentment and anger that he would take the time away from our precious rendezvous and talk on the phone. But by being mindful, it gave me a great gift. It gave me the gift of choice. I had a choice of response. How was I going to respond to this situation? Was I going to hold my anger in, not say a word, wait till the next time the phone lights up, again, hold it in? Or would I tell him of my disappointment and probably hurting his feelings? He got off his phone, he put it on the table. I picked my phone up and called his number. His phone lit up. It said Dad, D-A-D. He said, "What are you calling me here for?" I'm sitting right in front of you, and I said, with a big smile, "Because I want to talk to you." A situation that could have ended up with shame, blame, anger, it could have ruined the whole evening, suddenly smiles and laughter, because by being mindful of what I was feeling, it gave me the choice of response, and that response was a humorous one. He got the message because all evening his phone kept lighting up, and we both looked at it, looked at each other, and smiled and continued our meal. Now, Dr. Peter Salovey, who did a research on emotional intelligence, says that emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive, to control, and to evaluate emotions. Perceive, control, evaluate. That's exactly what happened in this story with my son. I perceived anger and resentment. I controlled by not a knee-jerk response. And I evaluated, what do I do with this situation? Now, the question that was asked me yesterday during our lovely workshop with the teachers was, can emotional intelligence be taught? Can mindfulness be translated into the classroom? My answer is, I really believe it can. And I would like to offer all of you 3 life lessons that I learned that by being mindful, it gave me the opportunity to lower stress in my life, to have deeper human contact, and also help me to find some compassionate moment with my students. If you would like to take one of these lessons back with you to your lives, please raise your hand and say yes. That was lovely, but not passionate enough. Okay, we got to get on with this program. So who would ever like to take one back out of the three, raise your hand and say yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My life wasn't going very well. I was very stressed out, a lot of stress, and I found out by being mindful that I was taking myself too seriously. I used to take myself seriously until I realized that nobody else does, so why should I? And what I did was, by being mindful, I made a choice that every opportunity I have is to laugh at myself. Okay, when I laugh at myself, I'm not discounting myself. I'm not putting myself down. I'm telling the world I'm not perfect. I have my failures, my mistakes, my bloopers, but I laugh at myself, and that helps me accept myself as being perfectly imperfect. And I think that it's got to be the highest response of all to laugh at ourselves, and I'll tell you why. I was a Gestalt therapist for 28 years, and I know that in my heart of hearts, my clients, the moment they learn to laugh at themselves, they just might be on the way to healing. It's healing. I was a very serious person when I was growing up in a city called Hartford, Connecticut in the United States. It's in New England. And I had a dream. I wanted to be a radio and television announcer. So I went to Boston. I studied to be a radio and television announcer. Very serious. You know, they tell you to speak like an American broadcaster is to speak like this. And now, back to our show, The Flying Chicken. I was so serious about this, I couldn't get out of that voice. I would go to a party. It was embarrassing. Hello, Fred. How are you? How's your family? I would say to my girlfriend, hello, darling. Huggy, huggy. I finally got a position in Birmingham, Alabama, as a radio and television announcer. And my first day I started, I was very, very excited. At 8 o'clock, I got into the studio, and there's a cameraman, and there's Gretchen with the earphones. She's the producer, and she gives me a signal, and I hear the music in the background, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and with that very serious broadcasting voice, I looked into the camera and I said, good evening, and here is the news, read to you by Lenny Ravich, Washington. I gave the news. It was perfect. I had my dream job. I went into my office. My phone is ringing. I pick up the phone. Somebody wants to speak to Leonard Garbage. I put the phone down, picked it up again. Somebody called to speak to Leonard Rubbish. My secretary came in with a note saying someone is looking for Leonard Ravage, R-A-V-A-G-E. I looked up the word. It means to rape and pillage, and I'm absolutely innocent of any wrongdoing. Now I'm panicky. I'm taking myself seriously. I've got to think of an alternative. I got to go on the air in another 15 minutes. I'll change my name. I'll keep the Leonard, but I got to throw out the garbage. Leonard was starting with an R, something with an R like Leonard Raymond. I'll be Leonard Raymond. So I went to all my colleagues. I said, I'm no longer Leonard Ravich. I'm Leonard Raymond. And they all looked up and said, thank God. I got in front of the camera, 9 o'clock exactly. And Gretchen gives me the cue, and I hear the music in the background. Da, 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 da. And I looked at the camera, and it went exactly like this. Good evening, and here is the news, read to you by Leonard here is the news, read to you by Leonard I became the first radio and television announcer in the history of the United States to forget his name during a live broadcast. But you have to be spontaneous because it's airtime and it costs a lot of money. So I looked at the camera and with great confidence I said, I forgot my name, but here's the news. Washington. Now I hear you laughing, and I see you laughing, and I've got to ask you a question. Are you laughing at me, or are you laughing with me? With me. I laugh at myself, you laugh with me. When we laugh together, it brings us closer together. This is called intimacy. My interpretation of intimacy is into me see. Into me see. When you're strong enough and courageous enough to show your true emotions and your vulnerabilities, people want to be closer to you. Isn't that a paradox? We spend our whole lives trying to be perfect, and all people really want is our humanity. Now, you're going to forget this, because a great author by the name of Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you say. People will forget what you do. But people will never forget how you made them feel. Plato said all learning is emotional based. So in order for me to make sure that you remember this, I want you to experience it, to experience what it feels like, and then you'll remember what it feels like to laugh at yourself. So I'm going to take a drink of this. It tastes like water. I would like you all to please, all of you in this auditorium, raise your hand to the point to the ceiling with one finger, everybody. Okay, now, put your hand here, your finger here, and do this. Okay, great. Now smile. I want to see your teeth. Okay? Even if you don't want to smile and you smile, it changes the chemistry in your body. Okay? And when I count to 3, we're going to spend 15 seconds laughing at ourselves. 1, 2, 3. Make believe you have an imaginary flower in your fingers. Bring it towards your nose. Breathe in deeply and say, ah. Ah. Do it one more time. Breathe in deeply. Say, ah. That was wonderful. I applaud you. That was great. Now I'm going to check your emotional intelligence. If you are feeling positive energies now, please raise your hand and say yes. Yes. Wonderful. Okay, so by being mindful, it gave me the choice to learn to laugh at myself. If you think that there could be more, a little bit more mindfulness, emotional intelligence, laughter in our classroom, please applaud. Thank you. Well, that was my first lesson, laughing at myself. My second lesson was drink water when you're thirsty. No, that was... My second lesson was educate the heart. A researcher by the name of Norma Meek, Dr. Norma Meek from Yale University, says educating the heart is as important as educating the mind. You know, when we're in a conversation with people, we tend to listen to the words they're saying, and this is the content. But there's something else going on. There's an emotional message, body language that people aren't picking up unless you educate your heart to hear that. That will make the communication whole. So I have to ask somebody in the audience, because I know that people in Switzerland speak French, German, Italian, and English. So if there's anybody in the audience who speaks a language other than that, like a mother tongue, please raise your hand. What language do you speak? Which? Hindi? Yeah. What's your name? Raj. Raj? Yeah, Raj? Raj, you speak it like a mother tongue? Would you come up here, Raj? Come on, let's have a nice round of applause for Raj. Thank you, Raj. Okay, now when you, how are you?
Good.
Good. When you speak, keep the microphone close to your beard.
I don't have a beard.
It's a surprise for you to be here, isn't it?
Yes.
How do you feel?
Good.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor.
Okay.
Because we're going to teach the audience what it feels like to speak from the heart.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to play the part of my son.
Okay.
And you're coming to me and you want to have a couple of days to go with your friends camping. And I'm not the kind of father that's so liberal. So you have to convince me in Hindi.
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
Now, why Hindi? Because you speak Hindi and I don't.
Okay.
I don't understand Hindi, but I want to turn off my logic and just speak from the heart. And I'm going to speak to you in Hindi gibberish. You're not going to understand, but please, Raj, don't laugh. You have to answer me seriously, as if you understand me.
Okay.
Because this is very important to you. In a minute and a half, you've got to get my permission. And I will answer you like I understand you.
Okay.
Like me and my wife. Okay. I'm home, I'm watching television. And this is very important to you, Raj. In Hindi, convince me in a minute and a half to give you permission to go with your friends on the trip. Act 1, scene 1, take 1, action. No laughing. Come on in. I'm watching a football game.
क्या मैं प्लीज जा सकता हूँ? प्लीज प्लीज प्लीज.
Easy name on your butt. Easy. You see my name on the
क्यों नहीं?
Easy, madam.
क्यों नहीं?
Then you need to do Nee, but you made that, you know, no more. Nee, we say, but no more. Jebedi maniam? Yeah. Okay. Let's have a nice round of applause for Raj. You were great, Raj. Come here. I don't have a pen and I can't sign it for you now, but I want you to read my book. It's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Enlightenment. Come and see me later and I'll sign it for you. I also want you to have this sticker to put on your car. You know what it says? Now, read what it says.
Now is my best moment.
Because there is no other
Moment.
Right. Think about that a couple thousand years. Let's have a nice round of applause for Raj. You promise me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, notice that by closing off my logic, Raj and I were able to communicate from the heart. And it was wonderful, Raj, being on the stage with you. And when you come from the heart as well as the words, and you pick up the emotional language that I picked up, you know, went down, this makes communication whole. So if you think that schools can educate the heart as well as the mind, please applaud. My last lesson was a lesson in compassion that I learned from my students. I want to explain something to you. In the United States, in the South, they have what they call southern states. They had segregation. That meant that Afro-American children were not allowed to study with white American children. And in 1967, a few years before you were born, the United States government came out with a court order saying that there's going to be integration, that black Afro-American students can study with white American students. And they were looking for volunteers to go to the Afro-American students' school, so I went to teach high school. I taught English. But the thing that I loved a lot was, at the end of the year, I would put on the end of the year musical. And I was directing Guys and Dolls. And I gave the leading role to a very talented student by the name of Erskine. And after a couple of rehearsals, Erskine stopped coming to rehearsals. Now, I was so much into my ego, how dare he do that to me type thing, that I didn't even bother to try to find out what happened. So I automatically gave his part to another actor by the name of Prince. And we were in rehearsal for about 5 weeks. 3 days before the show, Erskine walks in to the rehearsal room, and he looks gaunt and pale and so skinny he looked like a skeleton. And I said, Erskine, what happened? And he said, excuse me, Mr. Ravich, I was in the hospital. I have leukemia. And I fought like crazy to get out of the hospital because I had to get back here and ask you to please give me my part back in the play. The kids came over to me and they said, Mr. Ravich, don't give him the part. He's going to destroy the play. He'll ruin it. The kids felt that they had worked so hard and he's sick, he can't do it. That night I called my spiritual teacher and very good friend, Sterna, and asked her, and she said, Lenny, he may ruin the play, but there is nothing above the human spirit. You have to give him the part. I said, but Prince has been practicing all this time. What do I do with him? She said, put it on 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. So Friday night, I said, Erskine, you're playing Saturday night, Prince. And Friday night, Erskine got up on stage. He was so courageous. He did the best he could. He was okay. And the kids supported him. He got through it. So the next day, on Saturday, I had to rehearse Prince to get on stage that night. And Prince was acting very, very strange. He cursed me, threw the script on the floor, and stormed out of the rehearsal. I had no other choice. I had to give the part back to Erskine. I said, Erskine, you're going to play again tonight. And Erskine played again, and he was okay. 6 weeks later, I was at Erskine's funeral. And as I was sitting there, Prince came in and sat next to me. And he said, Mr. Ravich, please don't be angry at me. I wanted Erskine to feel that only he could play the part. And I didn't want to just give it to him. He'd feel that I was showing him pity. So I acted like I was angry and crazy so that Erskine could feel that only he could play the role. He said, do you forgive me? And I looked over at him and I said, Prince, of course I forgive you. You are my teacher. From most of my students, from all of my students, I learned something of the heart. If you think that we can learn something from the heart from all of our students, all of our children, please applaud. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Ms. Ellis for the wonderful support you've shown me, and Annabelle Molnar for the wonderful support. And I want to thank all of you for allowing me to come into your lives. And thank you for the honor of coming into mine. Thank you. Thank you.